Hello, welcome to another episode of Just Cuz, the podcast where two cousins talk about things they love.
Just Cuz. And today we are talking about the new movie, No One Will Save You.
Such an interesting title.
Yeah, I was like, what an evocative title. I loved it.
I'm not sure if the title is too long, but once you see the movie, the title makes a lot of sense.
I don't think it's too long at all. It was really helpful because during the whole movie I was like, "Oh my god, something's got to happen. Someone's got to help her." Nope.
Nope,
No
no
one
one's
will
gonna
save
save her.
Yep. That's it. She gonna save herself or she won't. We'll see.
So I'm assuming there's a lot of people listening that have never even heard of this movie, and I just want to kind of talk about the specifics of this movie before we get into massive spoilers. Now,
Well, absolutely. Well, first, hold on. The reason that nobody probably, I mean, not nobody, but a lot of people might not know what this movie is because it is not a movie that is a part of a major franchise, which
Nope.
is so refreshing. Obviously, we've had a few of those come out recently that are really good, like Bottoms and other things that I can't think of off the top of my head. But it's really refreshing, especially a sci-fi story. This is a sci-fi thriller. And, you know, it reminded me a lot of Nope in some parts.
yes.
And that was really fun, and I adored it. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sure we knew the same amount of information about this movie going in, and it's on Hulu. Anyone can watch it as long as you have a Hulu account. I wish it was in theaters, but I searched up the poster for this. I saw an alien sky beam coming down on a house, and I thought, oh, interesting, a sci-fi alien horror. Yeah, I'll watch that. I almost wish I didn't know it was aliens, though.
I mean, it wasn't really a deterrent for me because it says it right. Like, it happens very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah. Like,
You
within
have,
the
like,
first 15, 20 minutes.
one
you see
day
an
in the
alien.
life of Bryn. That's our main character, played by Caitlin Dever, the amazing Caitlin Dever. I love her. She's incredible in everything I've seen her in.
I think the main thing that I've seen her in is Booksmart. I don't know if I've ever seen her in
Oh,
anything else.
you should watch
but-
Unbelievable. It's absolutely tragic and horrible
Is that
to
the
watch,
one with
but it's
Toni
really
Collette?
good. Maybe. I don't remember.
The
But-
mom from Hereditary.
No, I know who Toni Collette is. I don't
Oh.
remember if she's
Oh,
in
okay.
it. I don't know if Toni Collette is in it, but it's a mini series that was on Netflix. It made me very scared to sleep in my apartment for a very long time, but it is very, very good, well made, and
Definitely
an
on my
important
list.
story. Very good. And also she was in the terrible Dear Evan Hansen movie, and she was amazing still. Like, the movie
yeah,
was
she's
not
great.
bad because of her at all.
And I guess we
The
can
movie was
say it right now
upsetting.
because we've kind of talked a lot about this movie already. Caitlin Dever absolutely kills it in the fact that there is no dialogue in this movie.
There is no talking. There's no dialogue. There's no
Like
what's that
there's
word I'm looking for?
just exposition.
Exposition. That's it. There's there's exposition, but no spoken exposition
Yeah,
or plot.
it's given to you
Anything. It's
through
incredible.
context.
You know what? I was going to say this. Our aunt told me this one time, and she knows a lot about movies. Take a movie and watch it that you've never seen before and watch it for the first time with no sound. If you can still follow what is happening, then it is a well-directed movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well-directed film. And I could not stop thinking about that while I was watching this film because you don't need any speech. You don't need anything to figure out what is going on in this movie. I didn't even realize it until I think it was so the movie's structured like you have a day in her life, the main character Bryn. You have a day in Bryn's life and then an alien comes, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't realize until like after the alien attack, like after the whole day and the night, and then the next day when she was trying to get out of her house to go find some help, that was when I realized. I was like, nobody's said anything yet.
I had such a similar experience where I think the time that I realized it was, first of all, way too late. Like within the first minute, you should have clocked that, but I certainly didn't. And it was
No,
when
because
the
you didn't, because
UPS
she's all.
guy he took a package and he was like, he shoots, he scores, and I was like, wait, no one's talked other than that guy. Is that what we're doing? And then I slowly started to pay more attention to that because at first like I said, I hadn't realized at all.
Well, it's structured in a way where you don't realize it because so Bryn is all alone. She lives alone in a
Hmm.
house secluded slightly on the edge of the woods. In a small town. She has no one to talk to. She's very sad. She's trying to make herself smile in the mirror.
And she's been ostracized too for a reason that
Yeah,
you find out later.
we find out later, but at the beginning all you know is that she's unhappy and she's alone. So you don't question her not speaking because when you're not happy, you don't like talk to yourself. Like I talk to myself all the time when I'm feeling good. But when I'm not, I just don't say anything.
No, and that part is done so brilliantly.
It is just like it just gets in and like and I that happens with the UPS guy. That happens pretty early on. I did not clock it until much later that no one was speaking because I was like, this makes a lot of sense to me. They're showing us her life. She lives alone. She's quiet. There's no reason, there's every reason for an alien to attack her because she's all alone and no one would hear her and no one would notice that she's gone. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's the home invasion scenario with the alien, and then it just starts going further and
Right,
further.
right.
And,
But
oh my god, we'll get
yeah,
to all of that, but
yeah. But then the alien attacks and I'm like, that makes sense why she's not talking because you wouldn't talk in that scenario.
no.
You're hiding from an alien who's trying to kill you. So there's no talking. And then she leaves her house and I was like, oh my gosh, no one said anything yet. Maybe this is when she'll finally say something when she goes to the police station and then she gets into town. And then at that moment, I thought that there was going to be talking and then there was no talking. And I was like, okay, we're doing this for the whole movie, except there is one line in the whole film, and we'll get to it in a bit, but it makes sense why that's the only line in the film.
There are other exceptions. Like I said, the UPS guy, I think, has one line. But yeah, they break the rule one true time, and it means a whole lot. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about the aliens and their
Go ahead.
design. Because the simple little green man design that they have, like, it's supposed to look like the gray men.
Yeah, like the emoji.
Yeah. At first, I kind of hated it because I was like, oh, that's not original at all. And then you see one has little tippy toes that it walks on. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I'm getting ahead of myself, but then you see more of them.
No.
And they start looking more different. And that's
They're
when I liked
so
it.
terrifying. There's one that looks like a giant spider. These aliens, they're all joints. They're
Yep.
all like their fingers have like 17 joints in them and they're all like crickling and crackling and I hate it so much. It was
The noise that
disgusting.
they make is like a rippling in their skin. Like you could see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very visceral, very upsetting. Uh,
And they're super quick. They move like birds. I love that.
Yeah.
How unnatural unnaturally fast they move.
yeah. It's very much like they do not belong here. This is
Yeah.
not their terrain. And the way that they infect people, bleh,
Oh.
disgusting.
I definitely want to talk about that. But yeah, the more information that I got about the aliens, the more I liked them. But at first, I was kind of questioning, like, oh, we're just doing the humanoid,
Yeah.
green men.
Well, at first, at the very beginning, since I knew nothing about it, I thought, oh, Bryn is freaking out over nothing and this alien is going to be friendly. That was my first thought. I was
I
like,
had that
stop
read,
running,
too.
maybe they're friendly. That would get my ass killed so fast in an alien apocalypse.
Well, especially because that first one that's in her house, like it
It was so
obviously,
curious.
yeah, it wasn't trying to attack her, and I think it
Well,
did
that
because
we
she attacked
know.
it.
That's what it's framed. I feel like that's
Hmm.
what it's framed to look like at first, because it looks like it's just going through her trash, digging through her fridge, like investigating human stuff. And I was like, maybe it's an ET style situation here.
Yeah.
No,
It
absolutely
could be
not.
friendly. No, I'm pretty sure what it was trying to do was put that thing in her throat, which we'll
Yeah, it
get
was
to
just trying to
that.
find her, and they didn't clearly didn't know enough about humans to know where she would be.
Mhm.
So,
I have so many questions about that little thing. But yeah,
ugh,
I guess
ugh.
we can get to it because at first my read on that was that it was almost like Alien, where that thing in their throat was the real host alien, and the things that we're seeing are just bodies that had been infected. Like they weren't the original scary alien. But no, I'm pretty sure
I
that's not the interpretation that the
Yeah, no,
movie
I
was
don't
trying to
think so.
say.
The thing that I thought at first was that they were going to put those in people, and then they were going to slowly turn them into the
Ooh.
aliens that we saw, the joint monsters.
That definitely makes more sense than my theory. Because yeah, as the movie went on, I was like, oh no, no, it's just one alien species that's going to Earth.
Yeah. And they are infecting and weaponizing human people and homogenizing, I guess. I guess
Yeah,
that's the word. I
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
what they're doing because of the end. But
I have so many
um
questions about that
yeah,
end.
no.
But like
um
until the end, it seems like the aliens are just trying to take this human race and use them for their own purposes.
yeah. It felt like they were trying to colonize Earth and just
Mm.
get the humans under control as their pets. And maybe that's what they did do. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I definitely want to talk about that crazy ass ending, but for before we get to there, I have some more notes on the alien and just the whole aesthetic of the movie.
Oh
If you want to
yeah.
talk about that,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I mean, I just loved the how every single alien, other than the ones you made at the end, which are all humanoid, they're all unique. Like you said, some were spindly and looked like a spider. There was a little
Yeah.
monkey looking
There was a
one.
little tiny there was a little tiny creep. I hated him.
Were
I
those
was like I was
different?
like I don't know. I was like, what's that? A kid? A dog?
Yeah.
What is it? Why is it different? Why does it crazy looking?
Why were some super big? That big ass one was so scary. I loved
Maybe
it.
it's like a rank.
Yeah.
I don't
What
know.
honestly, when she trapped it in her car and burned it, I was kind of sad because I was like, "Oh, I want to see more of that thing."
No, I was not sad at all. I was like, kill that giant spider thingy. Ugh. I was like, yes, girl, blow it up. She blew one up in her car. She killed the first one that came into her house the first night. She killed it by accident because it was
Mhm.
about to get her, and she accidentally stuck one of her little toy houses, her little model houses,
Yeah.
into the side of its head, and it died. And that said the president, like, okay, she can kill things.
And I appreciated how soft these aliens were because you even before she stabs
Yeah.
it, she like shoves one and it gets really hurt from
Yeah, and
that.
she bites one and yeah. Um they are flesh monsters. They're not
Hmm.
like robots. They are as vulnerable as she is, which is
Yeah,
nice.
and they have mind powers, which I was not expecting aliens to have, but it fits. But they are very, very killable, which I appreciated in this movie.
Hmm.
Like the
It was
main
very
character,
cathartic watching Bryn kill like all of
yes.
these aliens who were trying to um abduct her. But like, okay, so after the first day, she kills the alien. The next morning, she tries to get out of her house to go to the police station, and she sees around town that there are more crop circles
Hmm.
than just were at her
Yeah,
house.
almost
There are
at
other
every house
houses,
there is a
and
small
there
circle
are
on their lawn.
yeah, and there are destroyed houses and less people around. And so you're like, okay, she's not special. This
Hmm.
didn't just happen to Bryn. This is happening to everyone. Is it happening to everyone everywhere? Maybe.
I
Um,
definitely had the thought of this is happening globe wide, and that
mhm.
ending kind of reinforces that, but it never
Yeah.
specifies that. You
No.
just exist in this small town for the whole
Well,
movie.
because you exist with Bryn, and it's
Hmm.
so great. And I think we should get into it now. We learn about Bryn's life before the aliens,
Mm-hmm.
which is she is alone. Her mother has died, and she is ostracized from the town because it's revealed later that Bryn accidentally killed her childhood best friend Maud
Mm-hmm.
while they were kids and they were fighting. Maud pushed Bryn to the ground and Bryn hit Maud with a
Yeah,
rock
grabbed a rock and
and
just
Maud
smacked her.
died. Not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. Not funny at all. Very upsetting.
Oh, it's super, super upsetting, especially considering that like it's two young girls doing this.
Yeah, and
Like,
they're just kids, and she obviously does not understand the consequences of her picking up a rock. She just thought, "Oh, my friend pushed me. I'm gonna fight back."
yeah,
And that is a consistent character trait of Bryn's to fight back with
right.
and win.
One thing that I was not confused about, but the entire movie I'd been building up in my head this conspiracy theory of why the town hates her, and I thought it might have something to do with the aliens. I'm almost glad it didn't, but I definitely had something cooking up in my head that it was much. The answer that the movie had was much more simple than what I was thinking.
Right. Well, I had two distinct thoughts. One was at the very very beginning, when she was alone in town, and didn't speak to anybody, and then came home, and then that night the alien came. My first thought was she knows they're gonna come, and this is something that happens all the time. This is not the first time it's happening. But that was bashed very quickly with her reaction to everything that was happening.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, so it's not that. And then
I mean, it probably still could be argued that because her reactions weren't that surprised in the first night, though it
I
makes
think they
most
were. They were.
sense that yeah, it's the first time she's ever seeing an
Yeah, no,
alien.
I think she was pretty surprised. She was very scared.
Great acting where she's like having struggle, but just struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
Wonderful acting.
No, Caitlin Dever was amazing in this. The whole movie is her. There's not really any other actors because the aliens are CG, and there's a few extras. That's as much as I'd say. I don't consider them other actors. I think they're extras in the film. And when the credits rolled, it was just Caitlin Dever and then the title. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's just her in the movie pretty much. But so my other theory was, okay, so Maud died because of Bryn, maybe in like a car accident. I thought a car accident at first, but then I was like, no, she's driving through town. If you caused a horrible car accident, you probably would walk or like ride a bike through town. You wouldn't drive.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, not a car accident, but some kind of accident. And it was 10 years ago. So they were kids. Because she doesn't say anything, but she writes these letters to Maud as like sort of therapy. And you get a lot of information from those. You get Maud's name. You get the fact that it's 10 years. She writes at the end, I don't think I'll ever forgive myself. She said, I saw your parents today. So we know why she was hiding from those people in the beginning. Very helpful.
Very
in a
very
movie
helpful.
with no speaking.
I almost paused it on the screen where it was showing the letter. So I was like, oh, I want to get all of this information. But I skimmed it and it said, like, yeah, like you said, I'm sorry. I'll never forgive myself.
I think the movie is really good about just giving you the right amount of information at a time.
I think the movie's fantastic. Like, the best thing that it does is it knows exactly what the audience is thinking. And it will give you that information or that next piece of information to keep the narrative going and the audience guessing. Like, this movie does it so masterfully.
It does. And it really is all I could think while watching, I was like, this is a piece of art. Like, this is entertainment, yes, but this is art. This is experimental. This is so interesting. And it's interesting to think of it as experimental because, like, movies started out silent. They were all like this. Well, not like this, but they were all silent at one point, and everybody knew how to tell stories with no talking. And sometimes they would put up, cards with what the characters were saying on their cards, or like what was going to happen next. But they knew how to tell a silent story. They knew how direction needed to work so that an audience, to keep an audience's attention. And that is not always the way movies are made nowadays. And it's really, really fascinating and interesting to see it done in a modern way, because it's very modern. There's lots of CG. It's a thriller. There's fight scenes. There's the sound design in this movie is exquisite. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. And there's nothing in this film that is not meant to be there.
Yep. Everything is purposeful. The director of this movie, I feel like, and I looked him up, I'm forgetting his name. I'll grab his name some other time, but he clearly made a decision to make this dialogue free, and he wanted something very clear and specific to say, and he stuck by that the whole time of filming. And that's so rare nowadays, just to have a vision and to stick by it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the exception to the millions of blockbusters that come out every week, but I mean, it is.
Well, because those are made to make money, and film is an art form, and it doesn't always need to be made to make money. It can be made to express something, like this seemed to be. Obviously, I think this will make money because it's very good, but it's already been sold to a streaming platform, so there's clearly value in it.
Hulu saw the value in it, though I still wish it was in theaters.
Yeah, no, this would have been crazy in theaters. This would have been so good.
The sound design and everything. Oh my goodness.
But it might have been, I don't know, maybe it would have been strange for mass audiences. Be like, why isn't anyone speaking? But I don't know, maybe, I think it would have been good.
I also don't know if I would have gone to theaters to saw this, because I saw this like the day it came out because I could just sit on my couch and watch it.
Yeah,
but
that's
if
true.
I was forced to drive to the theater, I don't know. I really want to watch The Creator, and I haven't yet because
that's
of that
what I was just gonna say. I was like, I've been hearing things that The Creator is the best film of the year. It's a sci-fi masterpiece, blah blah blah. And I was like, I want to see it, but I don't want to go to the freaking movie theater.
Like we're both incredibly busy, and we're only gonna get more busy. Like.
Yeah.
I
don't have
loved,
time.
This is completely off topic, but I loved that year where Warner Bros. Put every single one of their movies day and date on their streaming platform. Now, they lost a whole bunch of money because of that, and a lot of people hated it, including the filmmakers, but I loved it. I loved being able to watch the new Suicide Squad on my couch the night it came out.
I'm sorry. Do you mean the year 2020? Do you want to go on record saying that you love the year 2020 and the reason that all those movies couldn't be in the theater?
You know what? I'll go out and say I didn't hate being stuck in quarantine. I'm not a party animal. But no, 2020 was not a good year, obviously.
There we go. There it is.
We were all stuck in a frozen amount of time. Like, that entire year didn't count.
You know what was crazy? During that year, during like half of that year, I was stuck in your hometown and you weren't there. And I was so bored.
I was like 200 miles away from there going to college.
I was just with my mom. And it's so boring. If you've ever been quarantined in a town you don't live in and you've never lived in and didn't grow up in, it's very upsetting. Where you don't know where things are.
And there's barely anything to do. I love my hometown, but it's small.
Well, during COVID, even less.
But before we get to the crazy ending that No One Will Save You has, I do want to talk about the 50s aesthetic of this whole movie. Because for the first 5 minutes, I thought this movie might have even taken place in the 50s.
I didn't think the 50s, but I was very much considering it for a while that it took place in the 90s. I was like, I don't think it has a 50s aesthetic. I think it has that like, I know I keep bringing it up, but have you ever seen Practical Magic?
I have not, no.
Okay, I know you haven't, but it has this sort of aesthetic that Practical Magic does, and it just like screams small town in the 90s to me. And it like has a Stars Hollow-y, Massachusetts-y kind of vibe to it, and the clothing is like flowy and like dresses, and you know, kind of seems old-fashioned but is clearly modern enough. And the reason I thought that, I was like, people dress like that now, like you can have a life like that now, but she has a flat screen TV, and she has a car that she can open with the key button. And I was like, okay, so this is not any time before the 90s. And then I was like, why doesn't she have a cell phone? She just has a wall-mounted phone in her kitchen.
Like a
and
rotary
then it
phone,
took me,
too.
Yeah, a rotary phone. And then it took me a minute to think, and then I was like, oh, she doesn't have a phone because she has no one to talk to. So why would she need a phone? And I was like, oh God, that's so sad. Because this film does take place in the year 2022 or 2023, whatever. And we know that because in the letter in the beginning, Bryn says, I can't believe it's been 10 years, referring to it's been 10 years since Maud's death. And later, she goes to the cemetery and sees Maud's grave, and it says Maud died in 2012. So that takes place now.
I didn't even think about that, but I'm glad the movie did give you a timeline. Because it never crossed my mind. At first I was like, oh, this movie, it looks like it takes place in the 50s. Is that the case? And then I saw like her flat screen TV or her Subaru, which is awesome. It's the same car that I have. The exact
It is the same car
one.
that you have. That's what I thought too. I was like, whoa.
But I just liked the idea that either the filmmakers or probably both, the protagonist just likes the year or the decade of the 50s, or maybe even the 60s, or just the past in general, and they like having stuff from the past.
To me, it didn't really seem like, I understand where you're coming from, the 50s, but it didn't really feel like the 50s to me because the clothing style and the, you know, decoration style wasn't 50s, other than the rotary phone. But I think where you're coming from is like, it seemed very old fashioned. She seemed very old fashioned. She was living her life. She didn't have like an Alexa or something to play music. She played music from a record player. You know, she had the rotary phone. She wore long flowy dresses. And she was very much caring about her appearance, caring about her hair had to be styled. Bryn's hair had to be styled in such a perfect way. And she was practicing smiling. And at first you're like, oh, is she getting ready to go talk to someone or meet someone? And this is how she is coping. Because that, again, back to quarantine, but that like really struck a nerve with me, because it was like, if you have nowhere to go, no one to see, what's the point of getting out of your pajamas? What's the point of putting any effort in? And then if you don't put any effort in, then you're upset with yourself, and then you're just more depressed. And it's like, no, if you're alone and if you live alone, you need to have some sort of system, some way to some rituals to keep yourself motivated and happy and doing things, because otherwise you're just going to do nothing.
And you can tell just from the first act and that first day where she's alone, like she has a routine. She's working on her model city. She's doing all that stuff. And I think,
she sews dresses and sends them to people.
Yeah. I think I specifically thought of the 50s because that's like when the US was super obsessed with mistrust of government and aliens coming down and Roswell and all that stuff, which is why I immediately thought of the 50s. But I think it's more so the protagonist's obsession with the past and living in the past and just completely ignoring the future and the president.
Yeah,
president.
absolutely.
The present.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And that is the aesthetic of the film. It is the past, and and it's the past, like rediscovered, re-examined, and
And like
that's what the
glorifying
aliens.
it.
Yeah, the aliens are used as a tool for that. Clearly later, because later Bryn gets possessed by one of the aliens. They catch her. She's putting up a really good fight, but they catch her and they put their gross, disgusting hairball into her, whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever the heck fleshy hairball that is. But first, to catch her, they use those like classic flying saucer tractor beams. And I had never seen this kind of interpretation of that. Because just from looking at it, it seemed visceral. Like someone gets halfway in it and they get snapped in half.
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of thing where it looks painful to be inside one of those tractor beams.
Absolutely.
And I love that.
And they had different kinds of them. They had the classic like white light beam that were coming directly down from the spaceship, but then they had yellow ones that came into her house at one point, and then the one that caught her was a red one. And I
it
don't
just
know.
Froze her.
Yeah, it just froze her and was like flinging her around, toying with her. It was terrifying.
Oh my god.
And it caught her, and then one of the aliens that was in her house, the only one that was left alive because she killed the other ones.
She killed every other one.
She was freaking awesome.
When she smacks the little monkey-looking one, just with a door.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that made me laugh.
No, I was like, yes, girl, yes, kill it.
But yes, back to the
terrifying.
fleshy hairball, because what the?
So the alien comes to her and vomits it up, and then spits, and then it like goes into her mouth, and it like uses telekinesis to force her mouth open, and she has to watch while this thing like goes into her body, and is the most disgusting thing in the world. I was like,
and you know exactly what's going on because you've seen other people controlled like Invasion of the Body Snatchers style,
and they
there's
all
something
have
in
like
their throat,
little thing in their throats, and it's disgusting, and they're all like going up in the sky.
Because it never crossed my mind, but I really like when you said that it was turning humans into aliens, and I don't think that's what was actually happening, but it would make more sense than what the actual ending was, and we'll get to it. But
well, I have a thought about that, but we'll talk about it in a second. I think, so she gets this hairball in her throat, and immediately cuts to black, and she wakes up back in her bed like it was all a dream, like she never met that, like the alien never came to her house in the first place. And I was like, don't trust it.
Yeah.
I immediately I was like,
just gonna ask you,
not.
Were you
Absolutely
fooled
not.
for a second?
Not for a goddamn second. Were you?
Nope.
Yeah.
I was reminded of a movie called Upgrade, where something horrible happens and then it just cut to black and the main character just wakes up in bed as if everything were all a dream. And it's like, no, we're not that dumb.
Wait, was it that Amazon show Upgrade?
No, different
Oh, okay.
one, directed by Lee Winnell. It's basically Venom, but better. That's another movie for another day.
I don't know that movie. Yeah, so she's back in her house. Everything's the way that it was, as if the aliens never came, except, Maud is there, but she's an adult. And
you never quite see her. She's always
never see
blurred
her face.
out.
Yeah, it's very blurry and it's staticky and lens flary. And I'm like, because it's not real. And I was like, excellent cinematography, excellent editing, love that. And then we get the only line of the entire movie in this scene, and Bryn looks at Maud and she's so happy, she's smiling, like her first genuine smile of the movie. She's beyond happy, and she says, "I'm sorry, Maud." And then she reaches into her throat and she pulls out the disgusting tumor thing. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? That was crazy. It was,
and I thought the movie might end with this whole dream sequence, and it's just Maud, or I forgot her name, Bryn.
Bryn.
Bryn like might just exist for the rest of her life, I say in quotation marks, just as this drone with something else controlling her body. But nope, she reaches in her
Yeah.
throat, and I
Just
do
by
the chef's
pure
kiss
force
to the
of will.
line
Mm-hmm.
because it's perfect. The one spoken line from this protagonist, and she's finally vocalizing the one thing that she's been writing down this whole time.
It's her like she finally gets to say her emotional piece, like it's her emotional character arc is leading towards that, and it's the plot because her plot arc is leaning towards that because she has to make the decision to keep going because she could just go to this world where everything's perfect and she's finally happy and she gets her life but better, and she decides, no, I'm going back to
Mm.
reality. I want my own life. And she has to persevere. And it is so thematically excellent. I just
Mm.
loved it so much.
Part of me wishes that the movie ended right there because there's like maybe 10, 20 minutes left after that. And I was
I was
left
surprised.
so confused.
I wasn't. And
Okay.
here's the thing.
I
Okay.
really want you to explain that then
Well,
because
so Bryn decides to keep going, and she
mm,
runs off into the woods. She sees the little tumor, alien tumor that
mhm,
came out of her, gets sucked up by one of the beams, the alien
mhm.
tractor
Yeah, it
beams.
goes back up in
But
the
instead
ship.
of bringing it back onto the ship, they used this is what I thought was happening. They used the DNA that they got from it being inside of her to make a
Hmm.
copy of her. And there was a cloned version of Bryn who was an alien for all
Right.
intents and purposes
And
because
this
she
made
was
sense
not
to
Bryn.
me because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what they're doing to every human. This makes sense
No.
now. That's why they're
That's
using those hairball looking thingies. But yeah,
yeah,
no, that's not what
but
the
that's
movie's
not what they
doing.
were doing to everyone. Everyone was still a human, just with those alien tumors in them. This is what they did to her because she pulled it out, and they were like, "Well, I guess we got to do something." I don't know.
But yeah, she kills
I
her
don't know what their
doppelganger,
thought process is.
and I
I'm
don't know
trying to figure
what
out. Yeah, I'm trying to
I,
figure out Bryn's thought process. The alien's thought process is going to take me way more time to figure it out.
I'm
I don't
still
think I
trying to
could do
figure
it.
that out. But yeah,
But
she kills her doppelganger, and I don't know what the hell that
oh
doppelganger
yeah, well,
is if
so
it isn't an alien.
no, I think it's an alien, but it's with her. I think it's her DNA, but it has like, I think it's just a drone. I think it's just a drone
That would
for
make
the
sense to me.
aliens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but so the clone follows her into the woods and stabs her, but then she uses the. I'd been waiting. Okay, so in her Home Alone
Yeah.
sequence where she was getting everything ready, she pulled out a box cutter, and I was like, okay, great, we're gonna stab some aliens. And the whole fight sequence, she never pulls out the box cutter. I'm like, girl, you could have used it. Where's
It's
the
in
box
your pocket.
cutter?
Reach into your
Get
pocket.
it. And then she
Every
never
time
does.
that she was battling one, I was like, put your hand in your pocket and grab it.
Yeah.
It's right
I
there.
know. And then when she finally put her hand in her pocket and grabbed something, I was like, oh, finally, the box cutter. No, it was the lighter. And she blew up the car. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
I mean, still great, but
Still
where's the
great,
box
but
cutter?
I was like, what happened to the box cutter, girl?
But no, she had to save it.
Anyway, yeah, so she when her clone is stabbing her in the gut, she brings out the box cutter and stabs the clone in the neck. And then it's like really sad, and she holds it while it dies. And it's like real sad, and you're like, "Oh my God, like this is definitely an emotional moment for her. Like this is
Mhm.
crazy." And then she goes to leave because she was like, I guess I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
going because there's
Well,
nothing else to do.
I'll just fuck off then, I
Yeah,
guess.
and then she finally gets got. She finally gets caught by a tractor beam, and she gets pulled up into the alien spaceship. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this is again. They're gonna dissect her while she's still alive. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I definitely thought that. I figured
Yeah.
there'd be some probing going on. Whatever
Yeah,
the
and I was
hell
like-
those aliens do.
and I was like, and that's how it's gonna end. And it's gonna be really dark. But no, the aliens go into her mind. And okay, this I thought was brilliant. The filmmakers used the alien tractor beams as sort of picture frames to snap moments
Yep.
in Bryn's life and frame them in the alien tractor beams. And I was like, that is so brilliant, because that's obviously how, we experience memory. We maybe won't remember every single thing, but we'll remember feelings and we'll remember moments. And the alien tractor beams were capturing these moments like they'd captured Bryn. And I was like, yo, this is too much. This is so good. And there were, going through her mind, there were moments with her mom. There was
The
she was
argument with
watching
Maud.
she was watching Maud walk out of her house, and then she goes outside and there's Maud's dad crying with the police cars surrounding him, and there is her fight with Maud where she kills Maud, and that's when it's revealed what happened to Maud, and we understand the extent to what happened.
I love how different this whole sequence can be interpreted, because I think we interpreted the same, as in the aliens are just taking snapshots of these moments, but it could have been so literal in the interpretation that the aliens were actually there for every one of these moments. And I don't think that's the case, but it
No.
could be seen as that.
I don't think it was either. I did think that at first, with the first time it happened, because you open and there was young Bryn with her mom building a house. I was like, oh, this is why she builds those weird houses. Cool. And then they froze her there. They froze the two of them there. And while they froze them, little Maud was running out of the house. And I was like, oh my gosh. For a split second, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what happened to Maud. Maud got abducted by aliens and Bryn got blamed for it, but she and her mom were frozen, and so they didn't know.
In that split second, I thought the exact same thing, and I was like, oh, Bryn killed Maud because she was an alien. Like, she had the thing in her throat. But no, because my mind just started racing at that moment.
Yeah.
But
no,
I
I think both
that
of
was
ours
the
did, but we
case.
had different conclusions. But no, neither of those were true.
Yeah.
Bryn killed Maud because they were kids fighting.
And I think it's just metaphorical filmmaking, and it looked sick as
No, it was
hell.
incredible.
So I loved it.
It was great. And then the last memory snapshot that we see is of young Bryn, after she's killed Maud, writing a letter to Maud, writing her first letter to Maud. And adult Bryn is there, and she tries to comfort young Bryn. And I don't know what this says exactly to the aliens, or what it awakens in them, or what it shows them about Bryn, other than just like she is so human and she is not a killer at heart. You don't need to hunt her down. I don't know. She is a good person. She just made mistakes. I don't know what they take away from this, but because of these memories, they let her go.
Yeah. And not just that, they give her a town. Maybe even the entire Earth.
I don't think they give her the town. See, okay, so from them letting her go, there's a hard cut to later, sometime later, and it's back at the beginning of the movie when Maud was not Maud, Bryn was getting ready, but Bryn is getting ready again now, but it's different. She's happy, she's smiling, she has a place to go, she's not just going to mail a package, she's rushing out the door, and she goes to meet the other people of the town, and they are humans, but they are still infected. They still have those alien tumors in their necks. And my reading of this was not that they gave her the town or the world. I thought that they their mission seemed to be to come here and infect all the humans, to
Hmm.
homogenize them, to make them all compliant and um usable, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah,
for
whatever
whatever the
resource they
aliens,
need.
yeah, for whatever the aliens needed. Because, and the reason I thought this is because they didn't destroy the towns or the houses or um any of the infrastructure. They didn't target somewhere important like the capital of the United States or
Hmm.
the UN or, you know, somewhere else. They're in a small town. Maybe they're everywhere, but this movie is in a small town.
Right.
And so my interpretation was that they kept everybody alive. They didn't want to kill any humans. They need them for something, or maybe they just want them, I don't know, maybe they want them to stop exploring space. So they're like,
Yeah,
let's just homogenize them
or they're
into
like, these
one.
people are fucking up their planet. Let's get them to stop.
Yeah,
Maybe that's it.
let's just make them uh all happy and infect them with this thing. And they and Bryn is the only one who's not, but she's
Hmm.
still happy. She is genuinely smiling and she's dancing with everybody and all these infected humans and she's just happy. Um
And everyone is back in the 50s aesthetic. Like, not just her. Everyone in the town is.
yeah, well, I thought that that was just like a party. I thought it
Yeah.
was like probably a themed party or something.
It
But
could be, but I just liked the look of it, and everyone's
yeah.
got their gowns on and
Hmm.
everything.
Oh, they were beautiful. The costume
Mm.
designer was excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I made sure to watch the credits and acknowledge the name, but I've since forgotten the name of the
Of
costume
course.
designer. But whoever they were excellent. Um,
But I had two separate interpretations of this ending. And
okay.
one was, she's getting ready to go to this party. And the entire time I'm thinking, oh, she's in another dream world. They've just found out how to do it better this time. And I fully believed that up until the closing shot of this movie, where it goes up into the sky and you see at least a dozen saucers just floating up into the sky. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. No, this is real. This is actually happening. Why would the aliens let her go? Why, like, is she the last person on Earth? I have no idea. And I feel like after thinking about this movie for at least 4 or 5 days, the idea that the aliens saw her trauma, decided that she'd been through too much already, and just let her go, like that makes the most sense to me. But the aliens seeing her trauma, and like that's not enough of a reason for me personally for the aliens to let her go.
Okay. Well, for me, I had. So my thought about it was, first of all, I don't think you're supposed to know.
Yeah,
I think that it.
it's yeah,
I
it's
think
definitely
it
supposed to
doesn't
be
matter
ambiguous.
why they let her go. It's just that they did, and she was happy. And I might even go so far as, if I wanted to say why they let her go, I would say that maybe in her mind they saw that she had the potential to be happy in this kind of world where
Hmm.
she where nobody knows or nobody cares about the bad things that she's done and only about the things that she will do. And maybe that's why they let her go, but I also think it doesn't matter.
No, yeah, I very, very clearly the ending of the movie is more than anything else supposed to make you go, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah. Well, because I think it's putting you in Bryn's shoes because she'll never know why they let her go.
Yeah, and she's
They
just trying
just
to
did.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a dream world. Maybe she's real. Might as well have fun with it though.
Yeah. Who knows?
But yeah, you're right. The ending, it's much less important than the themes that they bring up at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
third act, where you finally find out why she's been ostracized and everyone hates her in the town. Like that stuff
Yeah.
is much more thematically important.
Exactly. All in all, No One Will Save You is an excellent film and might be a little nihilistic, but still worth a watch.
Definitely worth a
100%.
watch. But with that, let's move on to the consumption corner, where we're just starved for content.
Starved.
Now, Sasha, what have you been consuming lately?
Well, I just reread Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, or Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. Sorry, it deserves its full title. Excellent book. I reread it in preparation for the show that's coming out in December, but also for the new book that just came out, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Chalice of the Gods, which I am halfway through, and I believe you are also reading.
Yep. I was just about to say, so I was rereading The Lightning Thief, and I got about a quarter of the way through, and then, since I pre-ordered it, Chalice of the Gods came in the mail, and I had to put The Lightning Thief down,
I
because
think
I'm
we were
rereading that.
I think
Or
we were
reading
in the
it.
exact same place of the I don't know how this is possible, but I think we probably were in the same place of the Lightning Thief, but made the opposite decision because I made the decision. I was like, I want to keep reading the Lightning Thief, and then I will read Chalice of the Gods, and then I will read the rest of the Percy Jackson books, and then I'll read Chalice of the Gods again. But
I think it's just the fact I've reread The Lightning Thief and all of the Percy Jackson books, except for the Nico ones, so many times. I was like, Chalice of the Gods is new. I want to experience it.
yeah,
And
fair enough.
it's a lot of fun.
It's so fun. And it makes a lot. I'm glad that I finished the Lightning Thief in preparation because even though I know what happens, it's so good to have it fresh in my mind because it makes a lot of references back to the original books, but and all of the stuff that's happened since then, but a lot of specific references to the Lightning Thief.
And that's
which I
definitely
love.
the way that Rick Riordan wanted it, because this
Of
is all
course.
just like it's a fan book so that you
It
could go
is,
through the highlights of the
but
Percy
also
Jackson
no,
books.
I don't know because the inscription, like, he says, like to these people, blah, and it says to a new beginning, and
That is true.
they've already announced another Percy Jackson and the Olympians books to come out next year.
I didn't know
So
that. That's awesome.
yeah, so I don't know what's happening, but I am here for it. I'm enjoying it. The writing is just as good as it's ever been. Yeah,
We're going to be seeing Percy and Annabeth and Grover in literary and in live action form till the end of
yes.
time, and I am going to love it. I'm eating
I
it
love
up.
it. I'm so excited. We're going to be seeing them on the silver screen soon. That's TV, right? I think so.
Yeah, I think maybe the
Which
little
is
screen.
TV. The
I think
small
it is
one.
silver.
The one in your house.
Yeah,
Whatever.
the one where you can watch on the couch.
Well, the one in my house. I don't know about your house. I'll see it in my house. But other than that, I am starting my Gilmore Girls rewatch because it is officially October. Yes, it's time for fall. It's time for hot drinks. It's time for pumpkin flavored beverages. We love it. We love to see it.
We all love it.
You should watch the Gilmore Girls, but I'll stop because I've tried to tell you to watch it so many
I
times.
probably won't because I'm so busy. I've been doing a lot of gaming recently, kind of just preparing for the Marvel Spider-Man 2 that comes out later this month. But and we'll probably talk about Ahsoka next week because that's a show I've been watching week to week. But I watched the first 3 episodes of Gen V, which is the
Okay.
Boys spin-off.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Is it worth watching? Because I was like, ugh, do I want to watch another spin-off right now?
I had a very interesting journey with this show, and I felt like I had a similar journey when I watched The Boys way back when it first came out. I remember not liking the first episode, and then the first episode ended, and The Boys, that first episode ends with the fight against the Invisible Man. And something similar happens to the first episode, or the end of the first episode of Gen V, where it hooks you. And let me tell you, Sasha, I am so invested in this show. I cannot wait for the rest of it to come out.
Okay, I might have to give it a watch
Yep.
because I love The Boys, and I did like the first episode of The Boys. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I remember actually I'm pretty sure my friend took a video of me because I remember watching this for the first time with my friend from college, and he took this video of me before I knew what was happening. He took a video of me and he said, "Hey Sasha, what do you think of the Deep?" And the Deep had just been introduced, like
Oh
at the very
no.
beginning, and I was like, "He's pretty hot." And then
No.
and then he cut to my reaction later, and I was like, "Why did you do this to me?"
Why did you make me say that?
Yeah, anyone who doesn't know the boys and doesn't know the Deep, don't say anything good about that guy.
Like,
He sucks.
I'm sure within 5 minutes of you saying that, you saw the Deep sexually harass someone.
It was sexual assault, and it was less than 5 minutes later. Absolutely, yes. Very
Oh,
bad.
God. But definitely watch Gen
But I
V.
like The Boys. It's a very good
It's-
show.
I
So
again,
that's on my list now.
I had no interest in watching a show about some teenagers or college kids or whatever age they
Yeah.
are going to a school and trying to learn to be superheroes.
I was like, I've
But-
seen it enough times. I don't need
Yeah.
another super-powered magic kid school. I don't want it.
It's kind of off topic, but kind of. But I also hate the comic of The Boys and the school that they go to that's referenced in the show Gen V. Like, it's supposed to be some X-Man ripoff, and it's just everything in The Boys. That's another topic for another day, but I've just never liked it that much. It's just very obvious spoof. But the Gen V does it so well, where all of the horrible people are horrible for a reason, or at least you could see where that negativeness comes from. But yeah, great show. Cannot wait for the rest of it to come out.
I think that about does it for me. Do you have anything else?
I mean, I've been playing a horror video game, Callisto Protocol, but I feel like I'm going to talk about that more, A, once I finish it, and B, when we get deeper into October and we can talk about some
Yeah.
scary stuff.
Scary. Spooky season. Hey, this was pretty scary. This movie was
Yeah.
pretty scary. Good way to start out the month. I
Oh,
enjoyed
yeah.
it.
I feel like that's why I pushed it so much, is 'cause
Yeah.
I wanted to get into the scary season.
Yeah. I like it. I'm here for it. I love a scary movie. Well, thanks for
Yep.
watching or listening.
Thanks for watching this episode this week of Just Cuz. With that, this has been a freaky little monkey alien podcast.
Yeah, fuck that thing.